Oof, the cards are getting all messed up. I'm doing Welcome to Tarotland Soap Opera. I'm going to do a reading for Aquarius energy. And like usual, we are going to do 2 rows. The top row I refer to as a high vibrational Aquarius energy. The bottom row, a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy, because we all have our dualistic nature of free will, and we have to make decisions in our life. And in our more high vibrational nature, we might want to do life differently, having hope and faith and belief in ourselves and in our dreams, and free ourselves from some things that manipulate us. But in our more worldly, shadowy nature, we can be afraid of change if we, the reason for the top rose reading here is the Knight of Pentacles, that we'd have to implement things and take action on things. And High Vibe Virgo is about taking action in truth and love. And maybe if we were to move forward in truth and love, and maybe some other people in our life wouldn't be happy about it. Maybe it would require us to live our life differently. And we all have different people that we hang out with in the world. And some of the people in our life want us to live our life the way we've been living it. And they might not like us having more hope and faith and belief in ourselves, right? We might have to go get a different job. Disconnect from certain friendships or relationships. Well, your cards are really interesting. Some of the top ones kind of got all messed up and were kind of hiding in the middle of the deck, and maybe it's hard to find that energy within yourself, which we start out with the Eight of Pentacles, which is also Virgo energy. It requires us to put in work and effort into the truth. And we'd have to, in the Eight of Cups, work through our own emotional confusion. And all of that, it's kind of like, where do I even start? We can be confused that other people move forward in life differently, and we find that confusing. And and then we have the Nine of Swords, which is kind of like, what is my truth? What is other people's truth? It's Gemini energy. In my dualistic nature, do I love and believe in myself? Am I more about the world or things of the world or myself, or living more from my mind than my heart? Aquarius is air sign energy of the mind. Is that my comfort zone, that I like to live more from my mind than my heart, but I don't want to see the truth of it? Is that maybe why did other people in my life kind of live their life like that? And is that why, it's confusing. We can have people in our life that we don't understand. We would like them to move forward with us. The Knight of Pentacles wants to become the King of Pentacles. Got an alarm on my phone. Wanting to grow and heal and mature ourselves. Wanting to, the King and Queen of Pentacles is the only married suit of the deck. Am I going to find someone who seems to be kind of on the same page as me? And, do we have similar values? Do we have similar truths? Are we motivated and inspired by some of the same things? And, we can't make other people work through their fears, their insecurities, their emotional confusion. If they're more about themselves, more about indulging themselves in things to make them feel better, which can be ego and image and money and materialism, or being immature or bossy or controlling because they're sure that's the way to live life and for them to be happy. We can't make other people see the truth either. So I think the top row is telling us to keep putting in work and effort into your truth, because you're the only one who can put in that work and effort to take action based on your truth. High vibe energy would be about truth and love. The Eight of Cups walks away from the Seven of Cups, which we could have known some people maybe in the way they harness their Virgo energy and their truth. We could feel like they have illusions about what it means to be in a relationship. Maybe they're more worldly focused, self-focused, indulgence focused, materialistic, immature, and we just feel like the way we want to move forward. The Eight of Cups is moving to the Nine of Cups, wanting to be more independent of the past, things that manipulate us, to love ourselves and believe in ourselves. And we want to be in relationships with other people who've put in that work and effort to be more independent, to love themselves, to free themselves from things that manipulate them. You know, from the One Sword to the Nine of Swords is the Eight of Swords. Again, the 8 and the 9 and the 10 is Gemini energy. Gemini energy talks about our dualistic nature. In my free will, am I going to be willing to get out of my ego and learn lessons in life? High Vibe Virgo is about going within to deal with those things that keep us in a mental prison, about being more independent, believing in ourselves, feeling more stable and grounded within ourselves, being more independent. And some people are motivated and inspired. I don't like feeling manipulated by my fear, my insecurity, the past pain and heartbreak, other people, the world. I want to live my authentic life. And so if we've been in workplaces or friendships with people where we feel like they might want to move forward with us in a relationship, we might want to move forward with them in a workplace or a relationship. But if we know, it's kind of like some people almost want us to live more from our mind than our heart. This makes practical, logical sense. We should do this. You should stay at this job. You should keep being in a relationship with me. But they could be someone who, again, kind of their truth and what drives and motivates them. You know, Aquarius energy, we don't have the card here yet, but Aquarius is represented by the 5, the 6, and the 7 of Swords, which is kind of like, what is my dream? Is it the more worldly dream, or making my life about someone else, or making my life more about me? Or do I look at life from a higher perspective? Do I think there's more to this world than just making my life about these things of the world? Maybe having a job, being in a relationship. Do I just get any old job, get in any old relationship? Some people do. Or do I want to be in jobs, friendships, and relationships with people where I kind of feel like we're more on the same page? You know, the things that drive and motivate me, and the vision I have for my life, and the dream that I want to manifest, what I view in high vibe energy would be truthful and authentic and just and fair and loving and encouraging and supportive and authentic. Am I in relationships with people who are encouraging me to grow to my full potential? Or do they get caught up in their head because I am more independent and they're not as independent? Do I get caught up in my head because they're more independent? Am I ready to be in a more committed relationship? Are they? Are they not? Are they willing to be more independent in the world, or do they have friends or family members that kind of manipulate them, that they're not, and they're kind of codependent on, that they're not willing to be more independent of? Do they still have a lot of things that keep them imprisoned? You know, looking at the 8 of Cups as also kind of harnessing the 8 of Swords energy. Is our truth the same? The reason I want to be in a relationship, or be it, you know, live my life, and why they want to be in a relationship, or, you know, what is the end goal here? Is it more about the status, the ego, the image, the fear, the insecurity, the codependency? Do I have to indulge them in their poor behavior? How long am I going to keep indulging someone in their fear, or their insecurity, or their pride, or their ego? Do they only want to be in it because of the status and the ego, or the image, or the stability, or the security? What about love? And so there could be a lot of people in the world, if they're kind of debating within themselves, and at any time in our life, right? We get a job, or in a friendship, or in a relationship. We can start out working together with people. Oh my gosh, in the Ace of Swords, I like doing that too. We should go hang out and do that. Or, I find you two, we have a lot of things in common. We kind of like to do the same thing. So we have this idea, that it's going to be emotionally fulfilling. And we're probably willing to become independent of some other situations or things we used to do or people we used to hang out with in order to move forward with those people. But then, we have to navigate that Eight of Swords and that Eight of Cups. Am I willing to become more independent of an old way of living life, viewing life, to get out of my head and in my Gemini energy and Aquarius energy of self, have hope and faith and belief in myself and in love and in others? And some people, when it gets to that point, in the Nine of Swords, there's that one sword of truth that could be, what my long-term goals were, because a more worldly Virgo energy could be, I'm really kind of more about, I don't really maybe have hope and faith and belief in myself, and that maybe I can manifest my dreams into reality if I take slow, steady steps, because that's what Virgo energy is about, taking slow, steady steps to invest. It takes time, right? Getting reward with effort takes time. Slow, steady steps, rolling the ball up the path of life to keep healing and growing and maturing yourself and believing it will all be worthwhile. And some people just really get up in their head about, I don't know if I believe in myself, if I believe in love, if that's my truth. Maybe I am more about myself, would rather be in my self-protective nature, would maybe make my life about ego or image or money or materialism or indulgence instead of love. And the Knight of Pentacles is the reason why the top rose reading came out. The reason for the bottom rose reading is the Four of Wands, Aries energy. Some of you could have been dealing with a Virgo or an Aries, but we all deal with people. The Four of Wands in shadow can be, we want to be in a relationship. The Four of Wands talks about coming together with others. But is our truth the same? Why do we want to be in a relationship with others? Why? What is the truth that drives us to get in certain friendships or relationships? Is it having hope and faith and belief in love, inspired by love? Or is it, well, this is good for my ego and my image. I'm kind of more about myself. That could be shadowy fire sign energy, shadowy Aquarius. I want to look like I've moved on. I want to look victorious and successful. I want to look like I have what other people have. I want to look like a shining star in the world. Is that why people get in a relationship? I just want to look like I moved on from the last person. Yeah, I don't want someone to be in a relationship with me for that reason. I don't want someone to be in a relationship just because they just want to be in a relationship. Like, if you want to be in a relationship with just almost anybody, then go find someone else. Some people in the Eight of Pentacles kind of treat a relationship like a job. That if I want these certain things in the world, I need to work with certain people in order to maybe make me have a certain status or image in the world. But is it love? For some people, it's not. That's not my truth. The truth is, though, something else didn't work out, maybe. I kind of maybe want to indulge myself in a relationship and be in a relationship. So I'll kind of indulge this person, even though I think our truth is different and our long-term goals are different. And then when people kind of find themselves in a mismatched relationship, one person could be putting in work and effort to bring a dream into reality, and the other person's like, oh, sorry, I was kind of creating an illusion. Or I thought I wanted that, but again, we come in contact with all these different people to try to help us get clear about what our truth is. And people can offer love and encouragement to other people, but that's not my truth. And if I were to keep moving forward in that way with you, and that's not my truth, you know, in the shadowy energy, we have the Tower card. I don't think it's going to work out because a house divided can't stand. If your truths are different, what drives and motivates you ultimately at a core level of how you live your life? And if there's some people that try to present themselves as being more hopeful and believing in love, but really they're maybe not very stable or have a lot of fears or insecurities or more about themselves and indulging themselves, you know, they can get in relationships with other people, but eventually the other people kind of do listen to their intuition. They can put work and effort, but we can't free other people from what manipulates them. Only they can do that. So then the bottom row can talk about doing the shadow work within ourselves. And I think a lot of us, for the first 30 some years of our life, we can be a much more codependent energy because we haven't learned to offer ourselves that cup of love, to work through all our own fears and insecurities, to feel more stable and grounded within ourselves. And we haven't been illuminated to the truth, because High Vibe Virgo is about being illuminated to the truth, that I need to offer myself a cup of love and believe in myself and believe in my dreams, because if I don't, I kind of keep living my life in a way and getting in relationships with people who, like me, haven't learned to love and believe in themselves and haven't worked through their own fears and insecurities, so we're kind of on the same page, and we might get in relationships more thinking being in a relationship is going to be the answer to our problems. But the truth is, if we haven't worked through the Five of Cups, our own regrets about the past of relationships that didn't, where we didn't feel people worked with us cooperatively from love, or we know we acted in ways that weren't conducive to a relationship moving forward, you know, whatever the case is, because we've probably all been a little bit on one side of the coin at different times in our life, are we willing to deal with the truth? Where did I need to heal and grow and mature myself that when I could have been in relationships with more emotionally independent or mature people, I didn't move forward with them because I still hadn't done this work within myself? Well, we can only deal with our own issues. You know, are we willing to do that work within ourselves? To work through our own emotional confusion, our illusions, our fears, our insecurities, to feel more. You know, High Vibe Virgo is like knowing your worth and value, appreciating yourself and what you bring to the table, and just growing and healing and maturing yourself, seeing the things that you need, some illusions that you could have had about relationships that, you know, that was kind of maybe an immature way of viewing life. And why am I not more independent? What are my fears? Why am I not? I kind of view in High Vibe the Four of Wands as firing on all four cylinders. And when we do this work within ourselves to work through our issues, you know, then we need to see the truth that if we're going to move forward with other people in relationship, we want other people to have done some of that same work within themselves to kind of be on the same page as us and kind of firing on all four cylinders to the same degree that we are. And, you know, life's about learning these lessons. So, you know, we just, you know, it's kind of like you don't want to hang out with people who are more immature, more bossy, more controlling, think it's just unfair to do this or do that when you maybe don't think that's just and fair, or they are more about themselves, or what drives and motivates them is different, kind of at a core foundational level is different than what drives and motivates you. And we can all know some people too that we could feel aren't very stable, have some issues from their past that they don't want to deal with, because the truth sets us free to live our life differently, but some people don't want to see the truth. And we're all kind of ready to deal with the truth when we're ready to deal with it. And some people may never want to deal with the truth. There are some people that don't like other people to put in work and effort to be more independent and love and believe in themselves. You're supposed to be unstable, and you're supposed to make your life all about me. You're supposed to not love and believe in yourself. I kind of don't love and believe in other people. I make my life all about me, so very egotistical and self-centered. And you're supposed to make your life all about me. You know? Why do they act like that? Why do they try to control people and live more from their mind than their heart and try to manipulate people? Why don't they go with the flow? But until they deal with some of those issues and work through them, they have to make that free will choice to free themselves of things that manipulate them. Then we have this card not showing itself, and it's Ace of Cups. Some people, in their free will, I don't want to do love. I get hurt doing love. If I invest in love, well then what if it doesn't work out? What if somebody leaves? Maybe they feel like I would be so up in my head, I would take it like so personally as like a personal rejection of myself or my worth and value, that it could completely destabilize me. And again, it could be because they haven't done this work within themselves. And it's, it's really difficult for the people who do authentically invest themselves emotionally in relationships. When they don't work out the way they want, it is really difficult and hurtful for them. But you have to have hope and faith and belief in your dreams. That I think life is about learning lessons, and I think we will be drawn and attracted to people because there could be things kind of hidden in our foundation of ourself that we didn't realize. And so we'll be drawn and attracted to certain people because, like, God wants us to be free. But we can't be free until we see the truth. So we will maybe be drawn and attracted to certain people because we have this way of viewing life. And I never thought of it until I started doing tarot. But, sometimes you can be a very loving, nurturing person. And you're like, oh my gosh, look at this person. Oh my gosh, they're sad. And oh my gosh, they don't love and believe in themselves. They have all these things that manipulate them. I'm going to go work with them to try to free them from what manipulates them. Well, in a way, it can kind of, us being in our ego, it's one thing to offer people truth and love and encouragement. It's another thing to get in a more involved relationship with them and move forward with them in a relationship. Because we have to accept the truth that everybody has free will. And if we get in a more mismatched relationship where you're kind of more hopeful and believing and nurturing and loving, and the other person isn't, it might be because, it maybe could be a little bit of a poor, poor, pitiful me thing. And there's still a more codependent energy. And we all could have been there to some degree, But we're still looking outside of ourselves like, oh, I have an idea. Instead of me doing this work within myself to offer myself love, and because that takes time, energy, and effort. I know I have an idea. I'll just go present myself as more stable and grounded and emotionally mature and loving than I am. And I'll go towards someone who I think is in that energy. that more high vibrational energy. I'm sure that will be the answer to my problems. But we never dealt with our past pain and heartbreak, our fears, our insecurities, our self-limiting beliefs. And some people are hiding. That is kind of how they view life. I shouldn't have to do that work within myself. That's like shadowy Pisces energy that people can harness. I have this illusion about life. I don't have to deal with those issues. I don't want to invest the time, energy, and effort. My idea is I'm going to go try to find someone to be a loving, nurturing, supportive person. I am sure that is the answer to my problems. But as they move forward with those people, they can get all up in their head because the people they're in a relationship with aren't manipulated by the things that they're manipulated by. Like, why don't you have some of the fears and insecurities that I have? Why aren't you more unstable and ungrounded? And then because they could be fearful that people will move away from them because they know they could, look up to that person or admire that person or feel like they're like a shining star. And it's this kind of self-limiting belief maybe of, if we haven't learned to love ourselves, we can be kind of loving and nurturing to others. But if other people try to love us, it's like, what are you doing? No, I don't even love me. You shouldn't love me, and we kind of can sabotage relationships. And then if you're kind of like, no, I'm going to help these people and I'm this loving, nurturing person, sometimes, why aren't we being in relationships with people who are more on the same page as us? It could be because maybe those relationships didn't work out and we're kind of getting in a mismatched relationship. If we get in a more mismatched relationship, it's probably not going to work out the way we thought. Are we willing to see the truth of it? That, I kind of need to get in relationships with people who are more on the same page as me. And just because people who might seem to kind of live life like me, view life like me, it's not about like everybody has to be like you, but we all know all sorts of people in the world. And there can be different people who would like to date us or be friends with us. And there's sometimes people that we want to be friends with and date, and we're not really on the same page. And what they like to do and what you like to go do and what they think is just and fair, what you think is just and fair, you kind of got to click. There's more to it than just being in a friendship or just being in a relationship, right? You have to work cooperatively and kind of be operating from the same foundation at the same time. The way we lived life when we were 15 and how we viewed life could be different at 18, 21, and 25. And we're not the same person at those later stages of life, even that's a very young age, that we were before, right? And we're kind of looking for people who've learned some of these same lessons as we have. But some people don't ever plan to do that work within themselves. And some of them are kind of egotistical. That's not my truth. That's not how I view life. I don't think I have to do that. I think, I'm bright, I'm smart, I know how to act and present myself. And they think that's enough. But if you're not genuinely taking action, motivated and inspired by love, eventually the other people kind of see the truth that it's not really from love that drives and motivates you to want to be in this, to stay in it. And I don't know that I want to keep staying in it if I think it's for a reason other than love. And then people have to go through all this thought process and listen to their intuition and work through their own fears and insecurities of becoming independent of that job, that friendship, that relationship, because it's not really aligned with their truth and they're looking for someone who is more on the same page as them. And sometimes when we detach from certain people in our life, some people are very unstable within themselves, and we can all get sad when relationships don't work out and we haven't learned to love ourselves. So then sometimes people will just get in relationships with other people just to make themselves feel better. For some people, their vice is getting in a relationship. Other people might do drinking or alcohol or drugs or eating or different things, right? Some people, their vice is to get in relationships. That's it. That is what I look to make me feel better. And then they get in relationships where that's not aligned with their truth. Some of the people in their life are like, yeah, let's keep going. And they're like, oh my God, I should have dealt with my shit. I shouldn't have gotten in this relationship. Some people, again, worried about their ego or image, wanting to look like they moved on, just wanting to be in a relationship, wanting to have sex. They get in a relationship and it's like, shit, I shouldn't have gotten in this relationship. Some people could be dealing with that right now. The difference between, and it is learning these lessons, and it's kind of based on life experiences that you've had, and how much you kind of indulge yourself in your kind of poor behavior, self-indulgent nature, thinking I have a good idea, but we're not letting love and intuition guide our decisions, and just picking ourselves back up after relationships don't work out. Is that high vibe people, what some people didn't know about the high vibrational people in their life was that they are aligned with their more loving nature, where some of the people in their life that they got in relationships, they've rejected their more loving nature. That is not what I look to. And we can all get in relationships with people and think, oh, I think they look at life the way I look at life. And I think if these certain things came up, I think they would choose this versus choosing to act like that, right? But maybe when things are difficult, the fives and the sevens kind of like in between here, because the 7 comes before the 8. What do we do when there's difficulty in a situation and there are hurt feelings and there is emotional confusion? Some people, their default is not to align with love and offer love to themselves to work through their own past pain, heartbreak, emotional confusion, and offer love to the situation. Other people have learned love is the answer. I offer love to myself and I offer love to the other people to try to work through this because love is the answer. And while one person is doing that, doing this work within themselves to keep in an energy of offering love and encouragement and truth, that at least if we're going to come out the other side and go our separate ways, I want it to be based on like being just and fair or something like that. But other people can get caught up maybe more in their ego and maybe negative self-talk. Oh, I'm sure they're going to leave. And how differently do you act when you tell yourself, oh, I'm sure they're going to leave. Well, why aren't we doing work and effort in ourselves so people won't want to leave? I mean, there's no guarantee they won't anyway, but at least we could put in work and effort to free ourselves from things that manipulate us instead of staying in an energy of things that manipulate us. And then maybe we could all move forward together. But some people are unwilling to offer love. They haven't been illuminated to the truth that love is the answer. And they could try to live more from their mind than their heart. I can strategize. I can do this. I can do that. And if you're not being more truthful and honest and authentic, you're kind of trying to manipulate people to get them to do what you want. And for some people, that is their way of operating in a relationship. Maybe they grew up with people who are more like that. That you try to manipulate and control people to instill fear and insecurity in them. And they'll be sad and they'll be upset and they'll do the relationship the way you want. And that could have worked a lot in the past. Sometimes, we'll stay in relationships with people who are doing or kind of indulging poor behavior in them because we want this dream to come into reality. And we do kind of indulge them for quite a while in their poor behavior, but kind of eventually we kind of see the truth that I don't want to keep staying in a relationship with someone who doesn't choose love. And I don't understand, it's confusing. Why are they choosing to be hurtful or unkind or bossy or controlling? Or why do they keep being more about themselves? Or they seem to be more consumed with these things of the world than love. And, eventually we just have to accept the truth that you're caught up in the illusion of yourself or what it means to be in a relationship, got illusions about it, or the world or something. And eventually other people say that's not my truth. And they offer themselves that cup of love to move on and no longer going to offer them a cup of love or to have a new beginning with them. And they listen to their intuition. They get inspired to do this work and effort to love and believe in themselves, to become independent of people who they think don't ever do this work within themselves to free themselves from what manipulates them. And all I can do is offer you love and an encouraging, supportive environment, but you have to do that work within yourself, or if those things still manipulate you, then you want those things to manipulate me, and those things don't manipulate me. I have freed myself from some of the things that manipulate me, and I want to be in relationships with other people who are more independent and have freed themselves and done this work within themselves. So the past pain and heartbreak, other people in their life that had their time and place in their life, but that is over and it's time to go to the next phase of life and be more independent of that phase of life. Again, because some people have foundations in their life, like friends or their original family group, and they never really want to become independent to live their more authentic life. And even if they get in relationships and marriages with people, you're like a third party to that primary relationship. And it's like, if I am going to get in a relationship with you and marry you, this should be the primary relationship. Those other relationships are more community relationships. This should be the primary relationship. And some people are like, oh, well, no, I can't become more independent of them. They're my primary, but I wanted to indulge in a relationship and marry someone. But the only thing is, if they're more codependent on another foundation for their sense of stability and security that they look to, if those people in their life tell them, I think you should let go of these people. We don't like those people. We don't want you to keep moving forward with those people. We don't like those people. Well, then these people, even though they might not want to, because they're get up in their head about being more independent, they move forward with the people that are these, friends or family members. We can have our friends and family in our life and enjoy them thoroughly. But our primary truth and what we invest as our primary focus of the next phase of our life, because like our family we grew up with, they're always going to be part, hopefully, of our long-term life. But if we are going to a next phase of life to come together with others to create our own foundation with them, we should be more independent of this old foundation. And some of those old foundations, whether it's friends or family, still want to be the boss of some people. And some people let those people still be the boss of them. Well, I have fear of becoming independent of those people. Maybe those people will be mad. Maybe those people will walk away from me if I go live my more authentic life. Well, you can see where you could have all sorts of people in your life. Well, if you go off, usually I bring up things that happen when we were younger because we can kind of relate to it. But, well, if you hang out with those people, or even choose to be their friend, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore. Or, well, if you go to college and our friendship is over. Or if you go get a different job somewhere, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore because you're not staying here. You know, really, who has our best interests at heart? Who are the people that are loving and encouraging us? Because just like we have our dualistic nature, we have different people in our life. Who are the people who aren't trying to manipulate and control us, that want us to offer love and peace and maintain balance within ourselves? But love is to be just and fair. That is the truth. And some people have a lot of imbalanced relationships in their life, and they kind of keep indulging those people in their poor behavior. And they are imbalanced where they keep investing in their more immature, indulgent, defensive, prideful, egotistical nature. Until you become independent of that and the people in your life that want you to keep living your life like that, because then you'll keep hanging out with them, I'm going to wish you peace and I'm going to move on. Enjoy it. Apparently, that is your truth and where your loyalty lies and what's important to you and what you want to invest in. And I did not like it. I found it unstable, ungrounded, unjust, unfair, unloving, and manipulative. And maybe superficial and shallow. I think people are operating more from their ego nature than their loving nature. Don't like people being more independent. Don't like people knowing their worth and value, because if they know their worth and value, these shadowy people can't manipulate them. They don't like people that they can't manipulate. Well, enjoy them. And some of those people, because some other people moved on, they could be really sad. But from the 5 of Cups to the 8 of Cups, they weren't willing to let go of that 3 of Cups foundation that emotionally manipulates them to align with their more hopeful, believing in truth and love nature, to be more independent of things that people in their life would not be able to manipulate them if kind of those ways of being weren't kind of something they align with within themselves. And it just helps us see the truth of different people in our life. I am more independent of some things that still manipulate you. I have learned to maybe love myself and heal from some of my past pain and heartbreak that maybe before I hadn't, but now I had, and some other people in my life still haven't. I can wish everybody peace and love, see you at Christmas, get along just fine with certain people. Do I want to be in a more involved relationship or spend more time with you? No, because we are different, and that's okay. You know, with most people in our life, we have all these different people in the world, and it's not a big deal. We've been sometimes people like, wow, why are those people more bold and brave and confident and more balanced within themselves? Why haven't I learned to love myself? And then when we're someone moving forward, other people in their life could kind of feel that way about us. But with a lot of those people, work, family, friendships, neighborhood, we can get along just fine because everybody's on their own journey and we all know everybody's kind of different and at different places. It's just more challenging when it's like a close friend or a romantic relationship, because we really wanted them to move forward with us, and we're hoping that they would kind of work through, that we just kind of work through those issues, and especially if you were willing to work with them and being loving and encouraging and supportive, that they would be motivated to keep offering love, to keep moving forward with you. But again, there's some people that we don't realize and we weren't seeing, that some people like it when you're more unstable and up in your head, because then you are looking to them to play maybe more of this role in your life of being this loving, encouraging person in your life, and that makes them feel, and to a degree they play that role of being a loving, encouraging person in people's lives. But once you free yourself from not being in that energy anymore, where it would be a more just and fair and more balanced relationship, well, then some of those people don't like it. Oh, well, you healed and went on your way. Yeah, no, I don't want to go with you because this is the role I like to play in people's lives. So you go, you healed, you moved on. I'm going to go find someone else because that's how I like to live my life. Then those people will view me as this loving, encouraging person. I like playing that role in people's life. But when it comes to be where, why don't they move forward in a more, in the same way, like I was kind of alluding to earlier, sometimes when you're a loving, giving person, it's like, why are we always kind of choosing people like a work project? Like, oh my gosh, here's this person. I'm going to make them love and believe in themselves. Why aren't we getting in relationships with people who seem to be more on the same page as us? And it can be, which we did not realize, probably, was that it was a little bit ego. We're not working with someone who challenges us to equally work through our issues and our fears and our insecurities, to work with someone who is more on the same page as us. It's like, oh no, you go ahead. Look at these people. These people haven't learned to love and believe in themselves. And then that is us kind of being in our ego a little bit. But odds are those relationships don't work out because, you're kind of on different ways of viewing life. You're trying to change other people. If they wanted to be a different type of person, they would have been a different type of person. And if maybe they were a different type of person who was more stable and grounded and emotionally mature, you maybe wouldn't have went out with them anyway. You would have went and found someone else who needs help. And you tell yourself like you're helping them, but it's kind of not growing and maturing you to grow to your full potential. And that's why there's certain people we can be drawn and attracted to. You really could have had the best intentions. No, I did want all those people to heal and grow and mature themselves and free them from what manipulated them. Well, for a lot of you, that never really happened. So you never really had to find out if you would have moved forward with them, if they would have done that. Because you could have realized that you kind of like to be more of a helper energy than someone who challenges you. Like, no, I'm like the boss. I'm the inspired one. I'm the one who knows things. See, I'm working with you to help you. Well, hopefully as we all learn these lessons, we see where we need to heal and grow and mature ourselves. We see the truth where other people in our life need to heal and grow and mature themselves. We kind of eventually realize, I kind of like working with people who it isn't like a job and a project, that they're people I can move forward with. It seems to be in alignment of the flow, that we're both more independent, less codependent on each other, loving and supportive and encouraging. And I'm going to keep having hope and faith and belief in my dreams. If these are friends, family, adult children, jobs, and if it's not a romantic relationship, I'm not going to get up in my head about it. There's many things that contribute to my dream coming into reality. And I'm not going to let, if I want to be in a relationship with someone, if that's not happening, or some of the people I could have communicated my truth to are moving on in their own high vibe relationships, or decided to go get in a relationship for some more worldly, shadowy reason, I believe that the divine has a plan for my life. And I'm going to keep taking slow, steady steps to move forward. And that some of the people who might not be moving forward with me could be not offering me a cup of love because they're hoping I will give up on loving and believing in myself, and then they'd be willing to get in a relationship with me because I'm willing to indulge in my more worldly view of life, or codependent, or whatever. And it's more living more from my mind than my heart. And it's like, but I have a dream of being in insightful, authentic, loving, warm, just, fair relationships. I don't want that. And as some people weren't offering you a cup of love, trying to tear down you loving and believing in yourself, hoping you'd be sad that they write the story of your life, that they control you because they could know you love them, as you keep moving forward, walking the talk, and they're not doing that, the further and further you've moved on, and you kind of eventually even realize, I don't even want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Because apparently you're not interested in putting in the work and effort and truth and love to move forward with me in that way. You keep doing all these other things, which maybe could be to try to manipulate me. And that's not love, and I don't want to be in relationships with people who manipulate me. And eventually, as you keep doing this work within yourself, eventually you free yourself. What's coming up for people who harness some high vibe Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? The Seven of Cups and the Knight of Pentacles not showing itself, and the reason it came out is because of the Queen of Wands. So the queens in tarot and the feminine figures in tarot can talk about how we think and feel, and the masculine energies in tarot can talk about the action that we're taking in the world and how we're presenting ourselves in the world. You are presenting yourself as someone who is putting in work and effort in truth and love to be more independent of the past and situations in your life that didn't work out and people you felt weren't working with you cooperatively from love. And you let go in the Three of Cups of working together with them to become independent of them and operating from a foundation to love yourself and work through your own fears and insecurities of becoming independent of them. And I think as you move forward in life, you did this work within yourself, because this is kind of what the outcome is, and the reason why is because of the Queen of Wands. And I view the Queen of Wands as Leo Sun energy. You gave yourself the things that you wish other people would have given you. Being loving and encouraging to yourself, offering love and compassion and forgiveness to other people in your life so you can let them live their life the way they want to live it, and you can live your life in your truth. You shed light on the emotional confusion and realize that in the Knight of Pentacles that, you could have been more caught up in the illusion. You could have been more in your ego and more caught up in just wanting to be in a relationship or something, or caught up in the world. And then you were in relationships with people who kind of harness their Knight of Pentacles Virgo energy that way. But you came to see that your truth in your Virgo energy is different than theirs. And the truth is what drives your dream in your Aquarius energy. And you kind of work through the emotional confusion to no longer invest in people who you might think are either more aligned, either that they've went and had a new beginning, that could be, for some people it is high vibrational. Well, then I wish you peace and love. I'm glad, just because I get out of one relationship and I might communicate to someone else, that person could say, sorry, I've moved on with someone else. And if you think they're a loving, warm person that you could have had a deep, meaningful relationship with, that is more on the same page as you, well, we accept the truth of that too. It's like, well, then I guess they're kind of a role model and example for the next type of person I'm looking for, instead of going back and repeating this pattern, And the people in my life that I do feel try to confuse people about the truth of who they were, I've kind of seen through the illusion. And now all of that life experience is what forced me to kind of do this work within myself, to love and believe in myself. And high vibe Scorpio of the Seven of Cups versus a more shadowy Five of Cups, which is Scorpio energy. I don't want to get in a relationship just because I'm sad, or because another relationship didn't work out, or to indulge myself in a relationship. In high vibe Scorpio and all these other zodiac signs and high vibe energy, I want to be in a deep, meaningful, authentic, loving, self-aware, insightful, mature relationship. I'm not the same person I was having gone through those life experiences. other people have gone through similar experiences like me. I am going to keep putting in work and effort to know my worth and value, offer myself the things that I wish other people would, to stay focused on truth and love, invest in my friends, my family. If I'm in relationships, I'm not going to let people who might be tempting me to be in a relationship with them and operate more from my ego. I'm going to see through the illusion of my ego to keep investing in truth and love. And I'm just not willing to keep investing in my more worldly nature or other people who I know are in their more worldly driven nature. I want people who are inspired to not repeat an old pattern and who want to move forward in life differently. What's coming up for people who do harness a more worldly or shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming? If I probably did mention it, but for people who try to present themselves as more independent, when they get in relationships with people who are more independent, it gets them up in their head because they would have to detach from some of their past pain and heartbreak or become independent of some foundations in their life and be more independent. And they'd have to invest the time, energy, and effort to work through why they get so much up in their head about loving and believing in themselves, trusting other people, believing in themselves, believing in their dreams. And some of those people quit putting in the work and effort and they let them go. And even though they're in regret, they just haven't aligned with their more loving nature. And, it's kind of like the divine is there to work with them, but they have to be the one to make that free will choice on their own, to love themselves and have hope and faith and belief in themselves, because the high priestess is Cancer, Pisces, emotional water sign energy, about believing in yourself and believing in your dreams and loving yourself. And some people haven't learned to do that. And until they do, they're going to kind of keep repeating this pattern, getting up in their head, because it's more, again, about trying to create an illusion that they're more stable, mature, or loving than they really are. And eventually other people kind of see the truth and they move on. And then it didn't work out and they're sad again. Well, when are they going to see the truth? I need to love me. Why am I so afraid of being, appreciating myself? Why is it always to look outside of myself for other people to value me or appreciate me? It's kind of like being your own best mother, father, coach voice in your own head, being a good mother to yourself, being a good father, coach to yourself. And some people haven't learned to do that within themselves. Okay, what's coming up for people who harness a more worldly, shadowy Aquarius energy that they might not see coming up? Well, some cards are... Okay, the Page of Pentacles. Why? Because of the truth. So, anytime some people are in a more worldly, shadowy energy, they're always going to have some people in their life that have that more hopeful, believing spirit. If nothing else, it could be their children and people they've known since childhood who are trying to offer them resources and love to see the truth. That within themselves, they need to see the truth about the past or themselves, or trust their intuition more, or love and believe in themselves. And those people would like to move forward with them in relationships. But eventually, the hopeful, believing people in their life see the truth that that isn't the foundation that some of these people are operating from. Because, again, some of them are just about themselves. That is not my truth. I am not supposed to have to learn to love myself. I am not supposed to have to do any work on myself. I might think I'm charming or attractive or good looking or I have money or status or social clout. People are supposed to want to be in a relationship with me. Well, until they get over themselves and figure out why they're very egotistical and self-centered, these same types of relationships are probably not going to work out for them. For other people, they want to be in relationships, but they don't want to be in them for the right reason. Or they want to be in the relationship, play this role in people's life, but then they don't like it when those people heal and become more independent. Well, then I don't want to be in a relationship with you anymore. Or then I get all up in my head and then I do immature, hurtful things in the relationship because I'm so afraid of you being more independent or loving and believing in yourself. You weren't supposed to do that. It's, again, shadowy Four of Wands of Aries energy, which anyone can harness, could be, I have this idea. I'm the boss. This is the way things should go. And they would like things to go the way they want it to go. It's like being loving and encouraging and supportive to people. But the clincher is that you have to keep staying more aligned with your worldly nature. Don't ever be inspired to look at life from a higher perspective. Always stay making your life about the things of the world, being in a relationship because of the things of the world, or making your life more about me. Not you, not your own dreams, not your own unique talent, skills, and interests. I might not mind you healing or growing and maturing yourself some, but I don't ever want you to let go, align with your more loving, hopeful, believing nature. Stay kind of more in your shadowy nature, stay more codependent, make your life more about the world. Because that's how they live their life and how they want to live their life. But they get in relationships with people who probably are a more loving, nurturing person who could have just went through some difficult times, but that person does have hope and faith and belief and love. And they don't want to stay in a relationship just for these things of the world. This person, people who are like that need to quit picking people, They need to get in a relationship with someone who is just more worldly focused. And maybe eventually they might get in a relationship with someone who's willing to stay in a relationship with them, who also maybe doesn't have an interest, in healing and growing and maturing themselves to their full potential, using their own unique talent, skills, and interest, or being a student of life. Let's make our life about being in a relationship for the status or the ego or the image or just to be in a relationship. Let's both stay aligned with our more worldly nature, not doing love. But sometimes other people who are kind of in that energy, they want to get loving people to stay in a relationship with them, even though they're not really motivated and inspired by love. Or, well, you're loving, you're supposed to love me. And then you make your life all about me, not loving yourself, believing in your own dreams, because I'm really kind of more about me. And I want you to make your life more about me. And that's kind of the difference. People who are authentically inspired by love want other people to free themselves. They want them to invest in their unique talent, skills, and interests, grow and mature themselves to their full potential. And that person could have kind of played that role in your life. And that's why you stayed in a relationship with them, because you thought they had the same idea as you, but they didn't. But that's why you were drawn and attracted to them, and it was to find that subtle difference. I can be a lot like you in a relationship, but I don't really want you. I have my way of living life, and if it gets to where I would have to work through some of my own issues, I'm not willing to do that. To move forward with you and be more independent of things that manipulate me. It's okay for you to work through those things, like maybe to get to my level. But once you get to my level and you want to move forward and keep moving forward, no, then the game is over. Because I would have to do this work within myself to get out of my ego, to be willing to be a student of life, and I'm not willing to do that. So you can go, and I'll go find someone else to get in a relationship. So some high vibe people are moving on. It's just like people at a job. It's like, oh, you should come work here. We're these encouraging, supportive, just fair people. And then you get in the relationship and you realize or get in the job and you realize they're not anything like that. You put in work and effort to try to hope move things along, and hopefully people will see the light and people will move forward with you in that energy, and people will kind of grow up and mature themselves. And that's where some people are like, no, I have a way of doing things and I'm not willing to do that. And that's when people leave jobs too. It's like there might be a lot of good things about it, but the people there, or a significant person that affects your life at that job, is unwilling to get out of their ego to become independent of some ways of being that aren't conducive to it moving forward in a more balanced way, firing on all four cylinders. And probably because the truth is, in a way, they're kind of immature, but they might be in a position of power or influence, but they're unwilling to change. It's like, okay. So it's kind of like, well, I want other people to maybe change, but I don't want to change. It's like, okay. Anyway, we'll leave it there. Aquarius, I wish you peace, love, and joy, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.